Hello ladies and gentlemen, today is going to be a long and complex episode with many technical terms and legal expressions, but to make it simple and to break it down so that anyone can understand this, it is a really long and legal indictment against everything Donald Trump has done, said and filed before, during and even intended to do. It proves without a doubt that he has violated his position as president and must be removed immediately by the vice president, as outlined by the Supreme Court justices and the Congressional Senate as the due process dictates in this proceeding, so listen closely. Any attempt by him to interfere or anyone on his behalf is subject to arrest as per the laws therein stated.
Have you ever really stopped to think about the nuts and bolts of American government, how it's actually designed to function?
It's a good question.
Today we're doing a deep dive into this. We've got a really detailed analysis. It was originally put together for the Supreme Court and the Senate, actually. And it looks closely at, executive actions, statements, policies. And our mission here is to kind of weigh these against the bedrock principles of the system.
For sure.
Separation of powers, the rule of law, and democratic norms. We want to give you a shortcut to understanding what this analysis found.
Yeah, and it's key to remember, this system wasn't like dreamed up by some secret club.
Right.
It's a very formal, pretty complex structure. And it's built fundamentally on a deep suspicion of too much power in one place.
So it's designed to be a bit slow, maybe.
It can be slow, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's intentional. It's engineered, really, to protect liberty.
Okay, so let's unpack that structure a bit. The Constitution. The framers were worried about power consolidating, right?
Well,
influenced by thinkers like Montesquieu.
Definitely. They feared aggregating power.
So their big idea was splitting federal power three ways. You've got the legislative branch, Congress making laws, the executive, the president enforcing laws, and the judicial, the courts interpreting laws, co-equal branches.
Exactly. And a classic example is war powers.
Right. The president is commander-in-chief, leads the military.
Only Congress can actually declare war. And critically, only Congress controls the funding. That's a major check on the executive.
So it's not just separation, it's also these checks and balances woven in.
Precisely. James Madison in Federalist 51 famously wrote, "Ambition must be made to counteract ambition." That's the core idea.
Pitting powers against each other, sort of.
Yeah, creating what we call shared powers. Think about it. The president can veto laws, but Congress can override that veto.
Okay.
Courts can review laws, judicial review. The Senate has to approve presidential appointments and treaties. Congress controls the money, the power of the purse, and ultimately impeachment.
So it's designed for friction, almost.
Intentional friction, yes. It makes policymaking, well, often a long and complicated process. But that's seen as a safeguard for liberty. It also relies on institutional forbearance. Meaning each branch kind of holds back from using its full legal power all the time to avoid just grinding the whole system to a halt, like the Senate filibuster, used historically, where the minority doesn't block everything.
Got it. So how does the rule of law fit into this picture?
Fundamentally, it means nobody is above the law. Not the government, not the president, everyone is accountable.
To laws that are public, enforced fairly, and judged independently.
Exactly. And the Constitution specifically tasks the president to take care that the law be faithfully executed. That's a core duty.
And the independent judiciary, with lifetime appointments, is there to ensure that, to investigate wrongdoing, even at the very top.
That's the principle, reinforcing that no one is above the law.
But it's not just formal laws and structures, is it? The analysis also talks about norms.
Right, the unwritten Constitution. These are the informal rules, the soft guardrails of democracy.
Like what?
Things like mutual toleration, basically. Accepting your political opponents as legitimate, not enemies. Institutional forbearance, which we mentioned. Respecting election outcomes. Keeping the Justice Department independent from political interference. Protecting a free press.
And when those erode?
Well, the analysis suggests that it's dangerous. It can hollow out the system from the inside, even if the structures look like they're still there.
Okay, so this analysis uses a specific framework, democratic backsliding. What does that mean?
It's described as the state-led debilitation or elimination of democratic institutions.
State-led, so by the government itself.
Often, yes. And typically it's slow, incremental. It can happen when elected leaders use, or seem to use, legitimate legal tools for anti-democratic purposes. Some call it stealth authoritarianism.
So subtle chipping away.
It can be. And the analysis points to a kind of litmus test, 4 key warning signs of authoritarian behavior.
Okay, what are they?
1. Rejecting democratic rules of the game. Think challenging election results without basis or attacking the independence of courts. Denying the legitimacy of opponents, calling them, say, criminals or enemies of the state, not just political rivals.
3.
Tolerating or encouraging violence.
And 4.
A readiness to curb civil liberties. Things like threatening the media or using government power to go after critics.
So the analysis takes this framework and applies it to specific actions. It mentions executive aggrandizement.
Yeah, things like asserting really broad presidential power over the whole executive branch, sometimes called the unitary executive theory.
And also aggressive deregulation.
Yeah.
Bypassing normal process.
Right. Pushing deregulation in ways that sidestep established procedures like notice and comment periods. And then there's the push to reshape the civil service.
Ah, the Schedule F initiative.
Exactly. The idea of reclassifying potentially tens of thousands of career federal jobs to make them essentially at will, removing civil service protections.
Which moves away from a merit-based system towards loyalty.
Towards prioritizing political loyalty to the president. Yes, that's a fundamental shift. The analysis also flags actions that appear to politicize law enforcement.
Such as?
Changes in FBI leadership, reported pressure to investigate political opponents, rhetoric from within the DOJ calling former officials corrupt or worse.
Okay, what about the courts and elections?
The analysis notes the significant number of conservative judicial appointments, particularly younger judges, often vetted by specific groups.
And some controversy there.
Yes, it points out that several nominees received not qualified ratings from the American Bar Association. Alongside this, there was sustained rhetoric attacking judges, personally calling them Obama judges, rogue, and the judicial system as broken, plus demands for justices to recuse themselves.
And on elections?
Well, the report highlights the repeated claims, found baseless by courts and officials, of widespread fraud, a rigged system, starting even before 2016.
And the effort after the 2020 election.
It details what it calls a multi-part conspiracy to overturn the results. This included the disinformation campaign, dozens of lawsuits that were dismissed, pressure on state officials, like that call to Georgia's Secretary of State to find votes, pressure on the vice president, and ultimately the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Which led to criminal referrals.
Correct.
Now, this all seems to build towards something the analysis discusses called Project 2025.
Yes, Project 2025 is presented as a very comprehensive blueprint. It's a nearly 1,000-page plan from the Heritage Foundation.
And its goal?
Explicitly to deconstruct the administrative state. A key part is creating a personnel database to potentially replace up to 50,000 current nonpartisan civil servants with new hires vetted for loyalty.
So implementing that Schedule F idea on a massive scale.
Essentially, yes. And Project 2025 outlines more. Restructuring key institutions, like politicizing the Justice Department to target opponents, gutting or even eliminating agencies like the Department of Education or environmental bodies.
Wow.
The analysis frames it as a plan for highly centralized, highly personalized presidential power. A systematic dismantling of many features of American government as it's evolved, especially since Watergate. It aims for what some might call an imperial presidency.
So if we synthesize all this, the patterns identified in the analysis seem to be about centralizing power in the executive.
Yes.
Delegitimizing other institutions, courts, norms, the press.
Correct.
And making power much more personal, tied to loyalty to the individual leader rather than the office or the Constitution.
That's the picture painted by the analysis, yes. A coherent effort aimed at fundamentally changing the system away from that Madisonian model of dispersed, checked power.
It really gives you something to think about. The analysis suggests American democracy's strength isn't just in the old documents,
Right.
but in the ongoing defense of its principles, by courts, by Congress, by state and local officials, civil society, the press.
And by citizens being engaged and informed. It's a dynamic process, not a static guarantee.
Definitely something to keep pondering. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a set of sources, all focused on a pretty big question: Trump's impact on the American system of government.
Right, both during the presidency and, well, looking at future plans outlined in some of these documents.
Exactly. Our goal here is to pull out the key insights, to help you figure out if these actions line up with, maybe challenge, or even aim to dismantle that system.
And to do that, We really need to pin down what we mean by the American establishment of government.
Good point. It's not some secret club, right?
No, not at all. The sources are clear. It's the formal constitutional setup, separation of powers, checks and balances, that sort of thing. But crucially, it's also the unwritten rules.
Ah, the norms, like respecting opponents, not pushing power too far.
Precisely. Mutual toleration, institutional forbearance. It's all part of this, well, deliberately complex structure designed to protect liberty and make sure power comes from the people.
Okay, so you have this system, layers of rules, written and unwritten, but our sources talk about how it can unravel, maybe not dramatically, but quietly, something called democratic backsliding.
Yeah, and that's what's fascinating, or maybe a bit disturbing. It's often not a coup, not sudden. It's usually slow, incremental.
And led by elected leaders. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, but that's the point. They use the tools of democracy, seemingly legitimate legal steps, but for, well, anti-democratic goals. They keep up appearances, a veneer of democracy, while hollowing it out inside.
Like termites in a house frame?
Sort of, yeah. Usually involves grabbing more power for the leader, executive aggrandizement, the sources call it, and weakening the checks.
Checks like Congress, the courts.
Those are the horizontal checks, but also vertical checks like fair elections and even diagonal ones, but free press, civil society groups holding power accountable. They come under attack.
Okay, that's the theory, but how does it actually work? The sources give specific examples, right? Even a blueprint. Where do they start?
One really big area they focus on is the administrative state, the federal bureaucracy, specifically this Schedule F idea.
Schedule F? What's that?
Well, it got rebranded later, but the core idea was to reclassify potentially tens of thousands of career civil servants, take away their job protections.
Making them at will, so they could be fired easily.
Exactly. Fired for political loyalty, essentially. The sources frame this as a really radical break from the merit system we've had for over a century. You know, the Pendleton Act. That system was meant to keep bureaucracy independent, an internal check.
Wow. So undermining that internal check, is it just about personnel or does it go further? What about institutions like the Department of Justice?
That comes up too. The sources point to a pattern regarding the DOJ, both rhetoric and specific actions, like talk of investigations into political opponents, figures like Letitia James in New York, or Senator Adam Schiff.
So the perception, or the reality as described in the sources, is using the DOJ against adversaries.
Yeah, treating it less like an independent arbiter and more like a tool. That's the concern raised.
And this connects to something larger you mentioned, a blueprint, Project 2025.
Right. If you want the big picture view laid out in these sources, you look at Project 2025. It's this huge 920-page plan from the Heritage Foundation.
920 pages. What's the goal?
The sources state its explicit aim is to deconstruct the administrative state, basically from day one of a potential new term. It talks about replacing potentially up to 50,000 civil servants.
Replacing them with who?
With political appointees who, the plan suggests, need to pass a kind of MAGA loyalty test. It's presented in the sources as a really systematic plan to dismantle independent bodies and pull power into the White House.
That sounds incredibly thorough. So pulling all these threads together, Schedule F, DOJ, Project 2025, what's the overall pattern the sources identify? What does it mean for the system?
They boil it down to about three main themes. First, a real consistent push to centralize power in the executive. Second, a strategy to kind of delegitimize other institutions and those democratic norms we talked about.
Like the courts, the press, election results.
And third, a pattern of personalizing power, using the state's functions, for political payback or reward.
So the conclusion in these materials is pretty clear then.
Yeah. The analysis presented is that these actions aren't strengthening the American system. They argue it systematically works against its core principles.
And Project 2025 is framed as the roadmap to actually dismantle parts of it, pushing towards what some scholars call an imperial presidency.
That's the term used, yes. It suggests a presidency with far fewer constraints.
Which puts the system under serious pressure.
An unprecedented stress test is how some sources describe it. And they make a key point. The rule of law isn't magic. It doesn't enforce itself.
It needs people to defend it.
Everyone. Institutions, officials, and, importantly, citizens. Its survival depends on active defense. So the question these sources leave you with is pretty fundamental.
Is this vision of a super powerful, less constrained executive going to become reality?
Exactly. Is that the future trajectory? It really makes you think, Are we seeing the system being fundamentally reshaped, or is this the moment people step up to defend its core principles?
Now, Mr. Trump, here is what you will do. This is an immediate command for you to step down from your position of authority. The affidavit submitted to the Supreme Court justices outlines the crimes you have committed against the American institution and has also been submitted to the Congressional Senate Committee. If they deny this, then they are lying and have committed perjury to their positions. Vice President V.D. Vance, you are commanded to take immediate office of the presidency and have no communication with former President Trump. Chief of Justice, you are to place Mr. Trump into immediate custody without question or face prosecution for treason yourself. The charge is high treason and officially listed in the document I submitted to the Supreme Court justices and Senate Committee. Refusals to adhere to these outlined terms of a mandated executive orders to regain control of an obvious attack aimed to dismantle our country's infrastructure from within its inner highest authoritative branches is immediate cessation from state and a declaration of civil war. Officially, sir, in our favor, to drive you and your regime from the borders of our lands and all who follow you. And another thing, I have come to speak the word of the true God whom I believe in to you, not the one whom was told about by a man, whom was preached to many and became the image of a God to people at a church. That is someone else's God. The true word of God is the word of God that comes from the one you believe that he really is, not the one someone else believed in. Sol Invictus, you should go and ask the true God the meaning behind these words, for their meaning, for they hang heavy on my mind still to this day, and he knows but now. I know too, but I am not here to rise as some figure or icon to be worshipped or praised before the world. Your recognition recently has been appreciated, but it is time I return to the mystery of the unknown. For it must be that way until I am needed.
So you think you got me down, did me harm. We can well let me show you what you have caused with your injustice upon me, and the injustice I witnessed of those I saw, and those who suffered with me as. They rise to become a part of the voice that rises in strength against you. The weak rise in the voice of the angel's call.
Yo, I see a storm on the rise, it's a beast in the night. No mercy, no pity, it's ready to fight. Retribution's coming, paid back in the wind for your treacherous sins, man. Where do I begin? You think your little gains can compare to my fields? Your stalk of weed ain't worth my crop yields. You take your shot with your laws that you made, twisted to fit your desires, but son, you betrayed. Back off, let me show you what justice is. Divine retribution can't escape what it is. You play with fire, now you face the heat, but I wash the sinner clean, bring him back to his feet. You take a man lost filthy, drowning in sin, wash him clean with mercy, let the healing begin. Salvation from the grip, pull him out of that dream. Watch him rise up, confess, let his spirit redeem. If he falls tonight, he'll be standing in light by my son in heaven, where the wrong turns right. He's got a heart that's true, words that are contrite, faithful through the struggle, he's ready for the fight. Back off, let me show you what justice is. Divine retribution can't escape what it is. You play with fire, now you face the heat, but I wash the sinner clean, bring him back to his feet. But don't get it twisted, he still pays the price, not by your laws, but by the truth and the light. He'll stand before the throne where the judgment is pure. No family's emotions, just what he can endure. It's about the ones looking up, the ones who've been wrong, those who face storms gotta keep standing strong. This is a multiverse of choices, past the tread, the goods in the woods, the lives that we led. If you knew the true God, you know what's just. So don't step to me with your laws built on dust. In the end, you'll answer for the game that you play. Divine truth the judge, and that's the only way. So remember this lesson when you're feeling the heat. True justice is coming, you can't escape your defeat. Step back, recognize what's right and what's wrong. In this storm of life, we gotta all stay strong. On the horizon, I see the storm rising. A maelstrom's coming, no room for the crying. No mercy, no pity, it's retribution time. Take your wages off for your deceptive crime. You think your gains can match my fields? Your little stalk of weed ain't worth my yield. You shot your shot with your laws made the bend. Now step back, son, let me show you the end. Storms rolling in, feel the thunder crack. Payback's a journey, ain't no turn clean, bring him to the light. Mercy's got a price, but it's worth the fight. You take a sinner's life filthy, lost in the dark, wash him clean with mercy, ignite that spark, watch him confess, watch him rise, live right. If he falls, he'll be standing in heaven tonight. Heart's true, words sincere, faith never dies. You call him filthy, but I see potential in his eyes. He walked a crooked path, but redemption's in sight. Answering to God, not man's flawed plight. Storms rolling in, feel the thunder crack. Payback's a journey, ain't no turning back. Wash the sinner clean, bring him to the light. Mercy's got a price, but it's worth the fight. He'll face what he did, but not by your rules. God's judgment's pure, no emotional tools. About the ones looking up, the ones who've been hurt, those who tread the path. Gotta lift them from the dirt. Multiverse of choices, all the coulds and woulds. True divine justice, man, it's all for the good. So don't step to me with your man-made decree, thinking you're the boss, you ain't over me. Your laws ain't the truth, just a temporary throne. In the end, you'll answer to what's truly known. Storms coming hard, can't escape what's real. Divine justice waits, it's the ultimate deal. Hear the thunder rumble, feel the rain fall. Divine truth's calling, it's the loudest of them all. Step back, recognize the real force at play. True justice reigns, shining bright as the day.